I am going to show you guys how to write a summary. We have done this in class many times, so this week is kind of review. The summary that we're going to do together is the social distancing article. You should have read it on your own. I also recorded me doing a read aloud of it, so make sure that you have done that before watching this video. I printed it out, and if you notice, there are several sections here. So we have the introduction section and some details section. Okay, so this is where I got our topic, main idea, and supporting details. So yesterday I read this on my own, and I took some notes. I'm going to show you what my summary will look like. And real quick, let's go ahead and review summarizing. So this is where you are using your own words to paraphrase or retell the main idea and supporting details of a text. We are working with nonfiction again. In the summary, you need to have your topic sentence, what the story or text is mainly about. You need to have a main idea and supporting details, a conclusion, which you guys are going to help me write here. Your own words, it needs to be in your own words. You cannot copy from the text. And it needs to be in order. You can't just jump around and pick and choose. You need to be specific, include only the important details, use complete sentences, paraphrase. You cannot put your opinion in a summary, and ask yourself questions: who, what, when, where, why, and how. Today, I'm going to use this graphic organizer or something similar to this one that we came up with in class to write our summary. All right, so here we go. I'm going to go to our next page in our IMB. I am on page 43 and 44. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. All right. So I'm going to title my summary, How to Self-Quarantine. Okay, so over here, I'm going to do my T for topic. When I read this, like I said, I took the topic from the first part of this article where it is talking about Christina Koch and Chris Hadfield and how they have lived in the International Space Station and they have experience with self-isolation. So we're going to say astronauts Christina Koch and Chris Hadfield have experience with living in, so they talk about isolation in here a lot, so I'm going to make sure I use that in here. Living in isolation, and it talked about it being on the I can't spell. All right, guys. See? Still need my whiteout. Left in that school. International Space Station. So astronauts Christina Koch and Chris Hadfield have experience with living in isolation on the International Space Station. I also would like to add in this topic part, it's talking about, in the article it talked about how now Americans have to live in isolation as well, which is why they wrote the article. The article is about the astronauts giving us advice. So I want to make sure that I also want to add a sentence in my topic about how Americans are now being forced to do the same. So I'm going to kind of write that. Now, Americans are being forced to, and I'm going to use this word instead of isolation so I'm not repetitive, self-quarantine, because of the coronavirus. Okay, so there's my topic. It's really long, but again, part of that is because I included both astronauts' names and where they were isolated at, because I think that's really important. So now I'm going to do my main idea in detail number 1. So I got that from this first section here. So the first section talks about pretend you live on a new planet. It's talking about how we are in unfamiliar territory, kind of like they are as well. So they're telling you to kind of pretend like you live on a new planet where you're exploring new things, which is what we are having to do at home. So we are still in talking about self-quarantine. So I'm going to say during self-quarantine. And I'm going to kind of copy it directly from here. During self-quarantine, pretend it's, and I'm kind of putting in my own words, pretend it's like living on a new planet. And you guys, you don't need to be writing this down. I'm just showing you how I would structure my summary. A lot of you, the summaries that you guys have been doing are very short and you're not including the important details. So I am going through this article together so that way when you go to do your article on the Olympics, you know exactly what to do. All right, so during self-quarantine, pretend it's like living on a new planet. That is my main idea. Now I need to add an example or detail of this. So in here, it talks about how people won't be able to do what they are normally used to doing. So they talk about making new schedules, and it says there will be things that you can do that you've never done before. There will be things you can't do. I'm sure we're all experiencing that right now. So I'm going to kind of write that in here. People won't be able to do what they're used to. So they talk about trying new things. So try new things to adjust to the new normal. So it talks about how we are living a completely different normal. Right now, all of the parks, everything is closed. We can't go out to dinner. We can't go play at the playground across the street. So they're saying kind of what we're doing is during self-quarantine, it's like living on a new planet. You have to try out new things. So that's good. So I have my main idea, supporting detail. Main idea, detail number 2. So I'm going to go ahead and get that from this section where it talks about make sure you have missions every day. I'm going to kind of skip this part, but then it talks about being your own taskmaster. It says develop missions, mini missions every day. Make to-do lists. It can be as simple as brushing your teeth or calling a grandparent. Always make sure you have objectives every day. So in other words, make a schedule. So I kind of want to talk about, I'm going to tie in this new normal here into my next section. So, because remember, we want to use transition words. We want to make it flow. So I'm going to transition it with connecting this. So with the new normal, make a schedule, or it talks about to-do list, or to-do list every day. Okay, and then I'm going to kind of add this in here because I think that's kind of nice. Okay, so main idea, so the detail is to keep yourself busy by being your own task master. I'm going to put that in quotes. I think this is really important. We tell you guys to make your own schedule. I think this is something that you guys need to be doing every day. I have my to-do list every day. Mine's really short today, but I've got it started. So every day, you know, make your list of what you need to do. What do you need to do for your assignments? What chores do you need to do around your house? What do you need to do for you and your own self-care? All right, I have that section covered. Now I'm going to go on to the last section. I'm going to kind of fold the paper here so you can see it better. And the last part talks about find creative ways to interact. So I'm going to go get my last detail from this section. So we have main idea, detail number 3. So this would be a pretty in-depth summary. This was a 3-page article when I printed it out. And remember, it is important to just, when you're doing this, you write the main idea, an example or a detail. It's just like in T-Bear. Okay, you have the evidence and the analysis when you write your body paragraphs. All right, so to find creative ways to interact, in here it talks about loneliness and how you need to stay connected with family and friends, okay? So stay connected. She was talking about video chatting with family and friends once a week, or your teachers, you know. And she's just talking about how we have to come up with creative ways to interact. Bridge that gap so you feel like you have someone there with you. So I'm going to start it off with, it talks about loneliness. So I'm going to say, to keep from getting lonely on, and I'm going to add lonely from what? We're talking about self-quarantine. To keep from getting lonely on self-quarantine. Let's see, who says it? So let's add her in here. Cook mentions staying connected with family and friends. They talk about finding like creative and fun ways to interact. So my example will be find creative ways to interact, such as video chatting. Okay, so I have my topic, 3 main details, and then a conclusion. Your task now is to write a conclusion to our article. It's summarizing what we said. You can kind of restate the topic. We have talked about conclusion a lot in our class. So you guys can go ahead and go in Google Classroom and write a conclusion. And my goal is that I can look through them tonight and tomorrow. And on Thursday, I can kind of go through some of them and pick and choose one that we've come up with as a class. This is kind of our as a class way. I'm going to go ahead and also type, oh, there's my notes. I'm going to type this up so you guys can see what it looks like in Google Docs. So next time we can pull that up as well. All right, my friends, go ahead and go on to Google Classroom. There is an assignment for writing a conclusion for this article. If you need to go back and reread it, that is fine. If you need to rewatch this video,